ever wondered how many laws are currently in effect in the United States? We can go on forever trying to guess the amount, but the truth is, no one, not even Congress, really knows how many laws there are. With so many of them, it's no wonder that every aspect of our lives and the societies we live in are governed by laws, which are in turn guided by morality. A good sense of ethics and the law join together to make up what is known as common sense. We almost kind of instinctively know it's wrong to kill, but we're also told by the law that it is. This dichotomy is what allows for fairness and order in society. But what happens when there's an imbalance and ethics and law oppose each other? What's to be obeyed? Is it what you think is right, or what you're told is right? How do you determine the legitimacy of a law? To decide this, you first have to understand what a law is. The simple answer is that a law is an evolved belief codified by a governing body. There's an endless number of personal and tacit principles that warrant respect and obedience of those that follow them. When these become a widespread thought shared by many who deem it important enough, they become laws. There is an endless number of beliefs, however, they are still outweighed by the set of written laws. When a belief is engraved in stone, it becomes reality and is ingrained in the fabric of communities who abide by it, otherwise known as the law. Now that we've established what a law is, we determine its validity. Since we know that beliefs are a product of societal conditions, we know that some laws pertain solely to the society they were conceived in. However, this code is structured on the concept of lex talionis, law of retaliation, in which a woman can be drowned in a river if accused of adultery. It's important to remember that not unlike most ancient civilizations, Babylon was a patriarchal society highlighted by the systematic oppression of women. In our current and much more inclusive society, women will not receive the same punishment, as views of women have changed in the past few thousand years. As time passes, people and their environments change, leading to the development of new ideologies that become more progressive with each generation. Each of them leaves a set of laws behind in its wake, which are then obeyed by the next generation until they create their own set of laws, resulting in a never-ending cycle of human development. This cycle is displayed in the fight for equality by blacks in America. Blacks were first slaves fighting for their rights, then free people fighting to integrate, then citizens fighting to vote, then voters fighting for recognition and equal opportunities. This fight has been successful in part to the dissolution of laws restricting these freedoms, such as the Grandfather Clause, literacy test, poll tax, and Jim Crow as a whole. All of which were then uprooted by the 13th Amendment, Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. As laws become older, they lose their relevance to society and are usually updated or discontinued. However, some of these outdated laws are still followed and contradict newer ones. When this happens, there's a struggle between tradition over progress. Do we follow older laws or newer ones? Older laws often limit the success of newer ones. Let's take the First Amendment, the basic freedom of speech, which has been in place since the ratification of the Bill of Rights 227 years ago. Beginning in the late 20th century and continuing into the 21st, there has been a significant rise in the amount of civil rights movements, namely Black civil rights, Me Too, and rights for the LGBTQ community. Unfortunately, there's also been a rise in hate speech, which is synonymous with these movements. There aren't effective laws preventing hate speech in the United States, and many cases against it are dismissed with the defense of the First Amendment. There are more restrictions placed on yelling fire in a movie theater than there are on calling someone a racial slur in the streets. This same idea is present with the Second Amendment, which is arguably one of the most controversial laws in the United States, which states that the citizens have a right to a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. When this law was first introduced, the United States was a nation in its infancy, fresh off victory against the strongest nation in the world and fearful of retaliation by the British. The purpose was to ensure that citizens would be able to fight off for their freedoms against oppressive governments and foreigners. However, in our current society, this fear is less prevalent, considering America's position as one of the largest and the strongest military in the world. Although this bill is meant to protect citizens, it infringes on the one basic life to all humans. Life. Around 13,000 people were killed by gun violence, and another 27,000 injured in 2015 in the United States alone. No other country rivals America in the amount of lives lost to gun violence, which could easily be prevented by laws restricting accessibility to guns. The main force of resistance against these laws, this change, are lawmakers who cite the Second Amendment as their defense and justifications on regulation of guns. There are nearly 20,000 laws concerning guns, however they still fail to adapt to our society and our demands. This trend of older, more conservative laws encroaching on newer and more liberal ones is commonplace throughout the American judicial system. It's important to remember that the greatest job of any government is to protect its citizens and their basic fundamental rights. Therefore, whichever law, whether long-standing or new, provides the most freedom to citizens is the most well-founded. With thousands of laws expected to be followed by citizens, there is bound to be overlaps. The question is, will you choose justice or the law?